Thank you all for joining us for our next edition of the Power Hour. Hopefully you've been able to attend some of the other sessions and have learned a ton, and there's still more to go. Today we'll be talking about fabric ductwork from Prihoda, our manufacturing partner with Dorse. Today on the call I have Scott Boucher, our VP of Engineering, Sales Engineer out of our Seattle office, and Blake Bonham, our dedicated engineering salesperson out of our Spokane office, and Corey Pope, Territory Manager with Prihoda. A couple of housekeeping items real quick. Please put your questions in the chat. We will monitor them. If it makes sense to interrupt Corey, we will. We might just hold it to the end, or if I can give a quick answer, I will. We have everyone muted and cameras off, so that's just the easiest way to communicate. We are recording this. It'll be posted on YouTube probably at some point next week, whenever I get the time to do some edits. So with that, Corey, I'm going to let you take it away.
Alrighty, well, thank you guys for letting me join in and give this presentation. So just a little backstory on me. My name is Corey. I have been with the company for going on 10 years now. I started on the inside sales side, so doing all the actual designing and quoting of our product. And here in the last probably 3 years, give or take, I have transitioned to more of that outside sales role. So as we're going through this, any questions that you come up with, I will definitely be able to answer. So like Chris just said, put them in the chat and we will get those answered. So Prihoda was founded in 1994 by a man named Prihoda. Him and his best friend actually fell in love with fabric duct and its applications. However, they could not find a supplier with reasonable prices. So they decided to start their own company, him and his best friend, and they had one part-time seamstress. So to date, we have 4 company-owned facilities in the Czech Republic that are all certified to that ISO 9001 and 14001. We also have manufacturing in Mexico that serves the North America market. To date, Mr. Prihoda employs more than 200 people, and he has invested a lot of time and resources into all of our custom-built equipment, such as our laser cutters, the ultrasonic welders, as well as our sound labs and the sophisticated airflow labs that are all used to actually make the fabric duct. So our current lead times are about 4 to 5 weeks, so 3 to 4 weeks for manufacturing and 1 week for transit. Our product is lightweight and collapsible, so it will fit down inside of cardboard boxes. So when we go to ship them, we can always offer expedite freight at any point. Our main office is in Mobile, Alabama. This is where we do all of the design work and quoting, as well as we stock mounting material here as well. So if you're ever in need of having something quickly arriving on site, we can ship those mounting materials from here and have it to you guys in a matter of days, and then have the fabric duct follow. So all of our ductwork is made from highly engineered polyester, and we chose that material because it's not going to rust, corrode, and it's not going to retain any type of moisture. Polyester itself is also inherently antimicrobial because it's not going to promote any type of organic growth. So all of our commercial fabrics are UL and ULC listed, and they are approved under the NFPA 90A, so they're going to meet all of the building codes. There's 2 main types of material that is used for fabric duct, a permeable and a non-permeable option. Permeable duct is what we are most frequently using because it helps prevent condensation. And the way that it does that is a little bit of the air actually seeps through the surface of the fabric and creates a barrier around the duct, and that just prevents your room air from actually ever touching the surface of the fabric, thus preventing the condensation. However, we do offer a non-permeable option, and this will act more like a single wall metal diffuser. So if you have the right conditions with humidity and whatnot, you will run the risk of condensation with those. However, non-permeable duct does have its applications where it is most vital in. So like transfer only, if you're trying to get air from one room to another, non-permeable would be a great option, as well as heat only in those low humidity areas would be a phenomenal reason to use non-permeable. So all of our permeable ducts will prevent condensation when cooling below dew point, even up to 80% relative humidity. So all of our fabrics are made using a process called endless fiber weaving. And what this is it's just miles and miles of filament that is woven tightly together. So it's going to prevent any type of fabric particulates falling out into the airstream. And because of this, all of our material is suitable for clean rooms up to ISO 4. So like I mentioned earlier, polyester is inherently antimicrobial because it's not going to promote any type of organic growth. However, if you are in a hygiene critical application, we can offer an antimicrobial coating onto the ductwork. This is a nano silver coating, so it's actually woven into the fabric as it is being made for, like I said, those hygiene critical applications. It also comes in 16-foot sections, so you can unzipper it at any of those zipper locations, stick it down inside of a commercial washer, and hang it back up to dry. We also offer another version of our fabric called Prihoda Recycled. This is the only 100% post-consumer recycled fabric that is available across the fabric duct industry. And so the way that we do this is we team up with a company in North Carolina called Unify, and they actually manufacture the reprieve fibers that we use in our recycled fabric. So what Unify does is they take water bottles that would otherwise be in the landfill, they chop and grind those into pellets, and those pellets are extruded into a filament, making our ductwork. So Unify works with a ton of different companies that we are very familiar with, like Patagonia or North Face, as well as they make the fabric seats in the in the F-150s, just to kind of put a little bit of reference there. So for every square yard of Prihoda recycled that is used, it saves about 11 water bottles from the landfill. And under the newest versions of LEED, you can get your material and resource credits when you do use this version. So one of the major benefits with Fabric Duct is that it is fully customizable, fully tailored to each specific job. So one of the ways that it is fully customizable is the aesthetics of the ductwork. So it comes in our 9 standard colors here, but we can also offer what we call Prihoda Recycled. So this is the ability to custom dye the ductwork. So you can do any color, any pattern, any design, any image. Pretty much if you can think about it, we can put it on the duct. And so the way that we do this is with a process called dye sublimation. And so that's actual heat and pressure. The image is actually vaporized into the fibers of the fabric. So you don't have to worry about it peeling off or coming off over time because the material itself is now inherently that image. The other fully customizable option for Fabric Duct is the air distribution. But in terms of air distribution, we offer a wide variety of fully customizable methods to move the air. The first one I'm going to talk on is our micro perforations. So this is what we would use ideally for putting a lot of air into a room at extremely low velocities. So your classrooms, any type of labs, offices, anything like that with a lower ceiling, this is what we would recommend. So this is a bunch of tiny laser cut holes that can be located at any orientation on the duct with as many or as few rows as are needed. So when we're going in with the laser cutter to make the micro perforations, we can also adjust how that laser is actually creating the hole in the material itself, and in a sense, bevel that micro perforation. And this just gives us a little more control of where that air is and where it is going to be blowing into the room. So in this video here, you should be able to see the difference just between the permeable fabric and the micro perforations. So as you can see, when that air is just seeping through the surface of the fabric, it's just falling straight down into the room. Whereas on the right-hand side, we are actually showing the micro perforations on the left and the right, and you can see it is conditioning that space in a much more efficient manner. So the most common air distribution method that we use is perforations. So these again are laser cut holes that can be located at any orientation on the duct with as many or as few rows as are needed. These come from 4 millimeters up to 3 inches in diameter. And these are typically what's going to be used for your gyms or smaller warehouses. These can throw upwards of 40 feet. So one thing that we have to be cautious of when we are working with the air is air deflection. So this is where that air wants to continue traveling in the original direction. So from left to right instead of down. So what we did is we created a product called Textile Air Control Pockets. And this is just a little triangle piece of fabric that actually goes over a few of those perforations or micro perforations and pushes that air back in the opposite direction to just push that air down towards the ground. So in this video here, you can see the deflection and then how those textile air control pockets correct that so that we can get that conditioned air down to the ground. So this is an interesting project that we did in Minnesota, where it was a DE option. The owner had a few requests here. They didn't necessarily want the duct to be super visible. They didn't want it to be the focal point of the room, but they wanted to push air above that swimming pool area, and then as well as wash that exterior glass. So what we did is we took those textile air control pockets, and we turned those 90 degrees here to blow up under that clouded ceiling. And we used the Prihoda effect in our advantage there. So we suctioned that air to the clouded ceiling and allowed it to fall at a natural rate to not cause any type of discomfort with the occupants in the swimming pool area, as well as to make sure that we weren't blowing air directly at the water, affecting the chlorine and all of that in the water. And vice versa, we took our textile nozzles and we blew those on the opposite side of that duct to help wash that exterior glass to prevent any type of condensation buildup there as well. And that leads us into our textile nozzles. So whenever we need to get the air moving further than the 40 feet, we're going to jump up to our textile nozzles. So all of our nozzles are constructed from the same fabric that our ducts are, and they're also ultrasonically welded on to our duct, whereas other manufacturers maybe use like a two-piece press fit plastic nozzle, or they're Velcroed on or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about the nozzles coming off regardless of the application. We have a few different versions of our nozzles. The first one that I'm going to talk to you guys about is our small nozzles. So these are available from 0.75, 1, and 1.5 inches in diameter. And again, can be located at any orientation on the duct with as many or as few rows as we need. So these can throw upwards of 45 feet. And when we compare these to our standard perforations, it can increase our throw by about 25%. So this is most ideal for your medium to long throw applications. So any of your large pool rooms, any type of hangers or event centers would be perfect for these. So we have two different variations of our small nozzles. The difference between these is purely aesthetics. So we have our industrial nozzle. This is just a single wall nozzle. And we have our premium nozzles. This is just a double wall nozzle that has a small wire ring at the inlet just to help maintain its shape. So again, the difference in these is purely aesthetics. They're going to have the same performance out of them. So we really need to get that air moving in a long type of way. So like any type of big manufacturing facility, we're going to jump up to our large nozzles. So our large nozzles have a 3-inch diameter minimum and are again constructed from the same fabric that our ducts are. One of the cool things with our large nozzles is they come with a built-in damper inside of them, so you just have a little more control of the air once the duct gets on site. So our large nozzles are going to be used for high volume, long throw applications when you need to get throw distances of 100 feet or more. So we have another variation of our large nozzle that we call our directed nozzle. This just comes at a pre-manufactured degree from production. And then we have another variation of our large nozzle called our adjustable nozzle. So this is a 100% adjustable nozzle from the damper to actually where that air is blowing. So once you get it on site, it'll have 3 of these bands here, one at the top and then one at the left and right, where you can actually pull it and adjust where that air is going to be blowing. So we use these in a Toyota manufacturing facility in Kentucky, where the assembly line workers were complaining that one was too hot, one's too cold, one's getting too much air, and so on and so forth. So what we did is we took fabric duct, we dropped it off of the metal ductwork at each line station, and we put one of these adjustable nozzles there on the end of the duct, so that at each station, each employee was able to adjust the air, how much air they were getting, as well as where that air was blowing, to provide maximum comfort to those employees. So up next, we have our membrane diffuser for air distribution. The membranes diffuser is an unusual product, but it is a great solution for doing heating and cooling out of the same duct. So the way that this works is it is a permeable duct that has a non-permeable sleeve on the inside. And that non-permeable sleeve rides on a two-position actuator. So when that sleeve is on the bottom of the duct, it allows cooling out of the top, and vice versa. When that sleeve is on the top of the duct, it allows cooling out of the bottom of the duct. So the other fully customizable option with fabric duct is the actual shape of the diffuser itself. So round is what most people traditionally associate with fabric duct. However, we have it in half round as well as in ellipse. So both half round and ellipse can be suspended or flush mounted to the ceiling, so these are more ideal for your lower ceiling spaces. The ellipse is just has a smaller aspect ratio when compared to the half round. We can also do a quarter round version. So the quarter round tucks in between your wall and your ceiling. This would be perfect for any sound sensitive applications. So if you're in like a movie theater or a recording studio, you can put it up there in that corner there, and it'll help with your sound reverberation as well. We have our rectangular ductwork. So the cool feature with rectangular duct is it can be used for positive and negative pressure applications. So in this specific image, we are in a swimming pool where they had a lower ceiling there. So doing your traditional round just wouldn't have worked for clearance, as well as they were looking for a little bit of cost saving options. So we're able to do fabric instead of them having to do stainless steel metal here. So installation and supports. We have a huge variety of mounting options, from just the simple single cable where the duct and the cable just clip together, to multiple track suspension systems to accommodate virtually any installation requirements. So one thing you have to be cautious of with fabric ducts is that our product is fabric. So if you don't have anything holding the duct open, it will collapse 1.5 times diameter when that unit turns off. And vice versa, when that air turns on, you're going to have all of the air coming down the duct at one time, and it will have a super loud inflation pop. So a couple ways that we have to combat the sagging and that inflation pop is with our internal hold open supports. So the first one is our 180-degree internal arcs. So this just is 180 degrees at the top of the duct, and will hold the duct halfway open. However, when that unit turns off, the duct will still sag a little bit and kind of look like an upside down egg. So a better solution, and what we typically recommend, is our full 360-degree internal rings. So these are spaced about every 3 foot. And when paired with our in-track tensioning system, the duct will have about 5% deflation in the system. So the way that this tensioning system works is you have that little yellow tab that slides down in a pocket at the beginning and the end of the duct, and then you just tension it with a screwdriver from both ends, and it'll pull the duct essentially taut. So this is a project for a gym in North Carolina where we did the internal rings and that in-track tensioning system. And as you can see from eye level, there is virtually no deflation in the duct system itself. So I'd like to point out here that this duct is running through the truss here. So if we did not have anything holding the duct open, it would sag, and at each point where the duct is making contact with something, eventually wear and tear would happen there. So one thing that we always keep a mindful eye on here in the office when we're looking at plans is where's the duct running, and is there going to be anything that could potentially make contact with our ductwork. However, if you are in an application where you need the duct to be held fully open regardless of that unit being on or off, we do have our Helix tensioning system. So this is a 16-foot fabric spiral that is located internal of the duct. So our Helix tensioning system is our top of the line tensioning system that we offer, and it is going to hold the duct open no matter if that unit is on or off. The way that this works is it has that same in-track tensioning system as well as an end-cap tensioner right here at the end. So it's actually pulled completely taut. The Helix can also be used for negative pressure applications. So if you are wanting a return duct and you want it to be round, we can do that with the Helix here. Another thing that we do that is pretty simple, but we think it makes a massive difference in the finished product of our ductwork is a finished end cap. So this is just a plastic disc that slides down at the end of the duct that just prevents it from kind of bulging and looking like a sausage. We also provide printed installation instructions that will include a QR code so that you can scan it and see an animated installation video on how to install our ductwork. And our latest invention is a product that we call square text. So these are just 2x2 or 2x4 lay-in diffusers that have a zipped on fabric diffuser face. So these are super lightweight, so they can lay directly into your ceiling grid without any type of like independent supports. They can also be taken down and removed from their frame so that you can wash the face to keep them clean. So we have a few different face options. The first one that I'm going to talk on is our swirl. So the swirl motion, it just induces supply air. It just provides high volume induction without causing any type of drafts on the occupants. We can also provide what we call the flow. So this just uses pockets and perforations for directional flow depending on the room's requirements. And then the one that we have had the most success with is just our standard perfo face. So this is just simply a perforated face that provides laminar air distribution. So any of our SquareTech options will be great for any type of labs or kitchens. And because they're completely non-ferrous, they're also great for MRI rooms. So now to date, Prihoda's greatest invention is the software that we actually use to design every parameter of the fabric duct system. And this is the software that we call Airtailor. So as we're putting in every parameter of the job itself, we get to look at every elbow, make sure there's no vibration. We get to select your fabrics and the hold open and all of that. But one of the tabs that we spend the most time on is actually the air distribution tab. So this is where we're putting in your perforations or your micro perforations, your nozzles, to make sure we're getting the proper velocities at certain distances from the ducts. So one way that we can do that is as we're putting in your perforations or nozzles, we can actually put in the distance from the duct, and we can see specific velocities, the feet per minute that the air will actually be at said distance. So when we're looking for cooling and heating as well as in the ventilation mode, we can ensure that what we're giving you is exactly what you're going to receive once it arrives on site. So as the system is being fully built, Airtailor is putting together fully dimensioned drawings so that you can locate each section, see what the air distribution will be like, as well as the parts that are needed for that section. It's also putting together your system layout drawings so you can see your airflows with that specific duct run. And we can also provide your flow profiles. So isothermal is the standard across the industry, so you can see your airflow models there. But we can also take it a step further and provide you those flow profiles in cooling as well as in heating. So one potential issue with fabric duct is system vibration. The end goal is always to have a completely solid design where your fabric duct is not moving at all. And one way that we do that is with Airtailor. So as we're putting in your full system, it's breaking it out into sections if we were to reduce it. So we can see here when we're looking at this chart that if we were to start out with like a 28-inch diameter and do something crazy, like reduce down to a 12-inch diameter, not only is this system indicating us in this bright red, hey, that we're going to have a problem here, but it's also showing us down here on that chart what our problem is. So we know when we made that reduction there, that our inlet velocity shot up to almost 3,200 feet per minute. So we know specifically, hey, we're having a problem here. But if we were to do something even crazier, like add in a elbow after that transition, the software will tell us our pressure losses at that point. So we know, hey, before we even added in this elbow, we were having really bad vibration, but now we know that we have a pressure loss that's greater than the pressure we even had to begin with. And the estimated vibration is at a level 5, which is the greatest that Airtailor will generate. So we know at this point that we need to come back to you guys and say, hey, this is what we're seeing. Can you verify that we have all of the information correct? And if we do, this is how we recommend to proceed, the way you have a solid design once it arrives on site. So another thing that Airtailor gives us the ability to do is look at the metal ductwork immediately upstream of us. So we know not always do we have the ability to have the most ideal transition links there. So we can actually put in that metal ductwork to look at the speeds of the air, as well as any type of vibration risk that may come there. So another way that we can address any type of potential issues with vibration or static pressure fluctuations is by using an equalizer. So this is just a mesh insert that is fixed at the inlet. And this is just going to push that air downstream of the inlet to help prevent any type of breakout vibration or turbulence right there. We also have an adjustable version. This is what we call the damper. So this just provides more flexibility once it arrives on site for balancing and correcting any type of turbulence and pressure issues. So the damper can be located anywhere downstream of the inlet. So like any elbows or T's on the system, we can put those there to help prevent any type of issues. So Airtailor also gives us the ability to generate the sound data across 9 octave bands so that we can then plot that to determine NC levels for the duct diffusers. So one thing to note is that our product is fabric. So while it's in itself is not going to generate any type of noise, our ductwork can carry noise from upstream of us. So if you are in any sound sensitive applications, we always highly recommend to have some sort of sound attenuator upstream of our ductwork. So we can also put the duct systems into a virtual room so that we can see the sound levels at different distances and directions from the diffusers. So once this design is finished, the software has created fully dimensioned shop drawings that we can then export into any type of like CAD or BIM layout so that these can easily be laid into the plans. For any supercritical applications, we can also provide a CFD. I have just a few more slides here to show you guys, and this is just going to go over the different applications for fabric duct. So everybody knows swimming pools. It's one of the most common applications, mainly because of the benefits for the fabric duct diffusers here. You don't have to worry about any type of rust or corrosion. You also don't have to worry about condensation because these typically are a little bit more of a humid environment. The airflow is fully customizable, so we can make sure we're washing all of that exterior glass to ensure a comfortable ventilation space. It's also great for any type of like gyms and fitness centers. This is again a very common application for fabric duct. The custom airflow guarantees ideal conditions for your participants. It's also fully customizable with the Prihoda art option there, so we can custom match your school colors, add in their mascots, anything like that, and then make the diffuser more than just a diffuser. It can actually add as an aesthetics component as well. It's also great for any type of like arenas or recreation centers. So we can easily size these to handle large volumes of air for these large spaces. And with fabric duct being as lightweight as it is, even when we get into those larger diameters, it is super easy to install and more lightweight when compared to your traditional metal ductwork. It's also great for your restaurants, nightclubs, and retails. Again, the custom air distribution just allows for draft-free ventilation in these spaces. It's also great for offices and libraries. This is one application or these are 2 applications that immediately don't jump to mind with fabric duct. But because of the different shape options that we offer, we can get into those lower ceiling spaces and provide a conditioned space. It's also great for your manufacturing and agricultural facilities. Because it is fully launderable for your agricultural side of it, you can take it down and wash it. You can also make sure that we're putting the air where it needs to be in those spaces to ensure a proper harvest, as well as in the manufacturing side of it. Again, once you get into those larger diameter size, it is much easier to install a fabric duct versus the metal diffusers. Also great for any type of food processing and commercial kitchens. These are awesome applications for fabric duct, and this is actually where fabric duct originated from. So they were taking flour sack bags in the beginning, sewing them together and hooking them up to the units there and just stabbing holes in it to get ventilation there. So today we have made a full 360, in my opinion, when it comes to the performance as well as the maintenance for fabric duct itself. So we can make sure that we're getting under those kitchen hoods to condition those spaces. And what we're also seeing quite frequently with these applications is that they'll order 2 or 3 sets of fabric duct at a time. So that when one is down for laundering, they can go ahead and put up that other set, and there's virtually no downtime in the system. It's also great for any type of like clean rooms, server rooms, or underfloor applications. Because of the endless fiber weaving and the ability to provide that soft and laminar airflow, fabric really is a no-brainer for these applications. So rather than having a ceiling full of HEPA diffusers, you can just have one HEPA filter at the air handler, and then we can distribute the air for the rest of the way. Fabric duct is also great for your temporary applications because it is, again, lightweight and super easy to install. So I only have 2 more slides here, and this is going to be our latest and newest invention. So this is a 4-way diffuser, fabric variation of that we are going to call Omnitex. So this will work with that same aluminum snap frame that the SquareTex uses. Again, the sizes would be vastly different because these typically are much larger. But it'll have the same fabric face on that you can unzip, stick it down in a commercial washer, and wash it. And then you'll have your nozzles there for your 4-way, 2-way, 3-way, whatever way, how many nozzles you may need depending on the application. So I just wanted to thank you guys for letting me come and talk about our product with you. I hope I have educated you some on fabric duct and the different applications that it can be used in, and as well as what type of installation support and how custom it can be for each application.
Thank you very much, Corey. We do have one question in here that just came up, and I was trying to find a detail on the webpage for it. In retrofits or renovations, how easy is it to swap other type of ducts for fabric ducts in spaces like restaurants or gyms? In my opinion, it's not too difficult. You can, pull that metal all the way back to basically the stub that's through the roof or through the sidewall, and connect like you would in any other applications. I've seen that in some applications where maybe they're taking a ceiling out, so they're having the exposed look and they're running fabric maybe through the trusses or through the structure. But I'm going to try to find the detail on that and post it in the chat.
Yeah. So it is super easy to pretty much make that swap to fabric duct when you're comparing it to just your traditional metal. So you would essentially just take down your metal. We can start all the way up at the unit, or if you wanted to come into the room, whatever, and start at that given point. And then you would just hang up your cable or track, and then the duct slides into the track or it just clips onto the cable. So making that swap would be extremely
And what's great is it's a lower weight, right? So on your structure, you're cutting your weight to a fraction of what it was with the metal. So there's no concerns there.
Yeah.
And then you can have it be whatever color you wanted. If you wanted to have a wood look for a wood structure, great. If you wanted it to be a dark black, because that's what the structure is being painted and you want to kind of disappear, that's simple to do as well, from the factory.
Yes.
I hopefully that everyone got to learn here that, I like to say it's not the fabric duct of 30 and 40 years ago where we said it always hang limp or sounded like a shotgun when the air kicked on and dust kicked off. With the internal supports and the tensioning systems, it can look like a full inflated duct even during times when it's turned off. And with all the soft starts and ECM motors and everything that rooftop units have, you rarely get that popping sound that you would when units would kick on at full speed. So there's really no concerns with that. And with all the variations you can do with your nozzle positioning and your nozzle sizes and your throws, it gives you a lot of opportunity to really engineer that fabric for your system. And that way, if you're ever in a space where maybe bleachers change or racking changes, if you're in a warehouse and you need to change the angle of your nozzles, Well, you can just, take out your tensioning system, unzip your sections, and you can zip new ones back in without having to worry about, changing grills and doing blank offs on an existing metal duct system. So there's just a lot of benefits and a lot of advantages, and there's a lot more to it than there used to be of a single fabric run with a few holes poked in the side. So with that, do we have any other questions? We're gonna hang around for a few minutes while we're waiting on questions. We'll let you know about how we work with Prihoda, at least on the engineering side. We will work with the engineer to get a rough footprint, floor plan of the drawing. If it's a gymnasium, where are the bleachers located? Where do we expect to come into the facility? How high off the ground would you like to hang that ductwork? And Prihoda will use that air Taylor system they showed to come up with the proper sizing of the duct and the proper nozzle sizes and the angle of those nozzles. And then we will turn over those data sheets to you showing the isothermal throws, the heating throws, and the cooling throws, along with all the, I think, the individual kind of velocity gradients inside the ductwork. So you can see if there's any areas where that might be of concern. But obviously, if Corey and her team are looking at it, they're going to make sure those velocities and those internal pressures are at the right points before they turn it over to us. And then we can turn that over to you as the engineer designer. Same thing on the contracting side. We can work the same way, and if we're bidding a job and it's somebody else's layout, we can turn that over to Prihoda and they will give their version of it. So lots of flexibility with Prihoda. Thank you again, Corey.
Yeah, of course. So just kind of piggyback off of what Chris was saying there. One thing that we really like to focus on is that we don't expect you guys to always know the ins and outs of fabric duct. That is what we are here for, is to help support you guys. So whenever you are designing a system where fabric duct could be of benefit, we would be more than happy to help out in the actual designing of it, give you our opinions, and help you create the best design that there is for fabric duct. And then we can send you full schedules and not plans, full schedules and details to actually put onto the plans as needed.
And it's more than just gyms and pool rooms, right? You talked about the food processing. In my previous life, I've used Prihoda on some television and movie studios.
Yes.
It's excellent for the sound quality, and it can come, black from the factory if you want it to disappear, so it doesn't accidentally pop up in frame. I think Corey's familiar with those particular projects.
I am.
So yeah, there's just lots of opportunity. All right, with that, we're going to close it out. Corey, thank you, and thank you all for joining us, and make sure to join us next week.